Hey everybody, I'm Albert Leonardo. This is Interest Targeting Part 2. In Part 1, we have discussed about interest is divided into precise and broad, and then precise interest divided into super precise and associated interest. Now we want to use what we have learned in Interest Targeting Part 1 to find a list of interests and then to fill in this form so that we can use this list of interests later in our ads. So this is kind of a step that I usually use when I'm looking for interest. Now we are going to look for and note down a lot of interests that are related to our niches. It takes time, usually takes 1 to 2 hours, depending on how big your niche is, but this is only one-time job. Right? Once I have done collecting this, then the next time whenever I want to do ads targeting this niche, I just go back to this form and just grab an interest that I want to target for. Alright, so the first step is you put main interest. What do I mean by that? You need to put your main interest here. I don't suggest you start with broad one. Right? You can do that if you don't know what the precise interest to start with. You can start with a broad one. Let's say teacher. Alright, so teacher, now we can look for interests or pages that sounds more precise. For example, like this, teachers pay teachers, like school outfitters. You can choose either this or this, up to you, to start with. Alright, then I type in here, teachers pay teachers. And I remove this one. So this is what I mean by you start with the main keyword, but with the precise one. Not only I want to start with precise interest, but I want to start with super precise interest. In the previous video, we have found one super precise interest in teachers niche. Right? This is abcteach.com. So I will start with this one. Right? The main keyword here is very important. Make sure that this is as super precise as possible. Now, let's go to step 2, which is note down all related pages in page likes. And then you check the affinity. You're going to find a high one, more than 10, and then you check whether they are available as interest. And step 3 is note down all related pages in top categories. So this is the page likes, this is the top categories. And then because there is no affinity number here, so you need to check one by one the page to make sure that they are relevant, and then you want to check at their page activity. On step 2, I would even check the page one by one. This is what I usually do. Alright, step 2 is go through the page likes, and we can start testing. Okay, teach starter. So teach starter, yes, this is targetable. And I want to see, just to make sure how active the page is. This is surely a teacher rated page, I believe. Okay, this is quite active page. You see a lot of likes and comments. Right, next what I want to do is put it here. It's a website, right? Like abcteach.com is a website. And teach starter is a website. Now, there's no right or wrong in categorizing this. You can even add your own category. This is just the example of how I'm doing it. Okay, test rocking teaching resources. Rocking teaching resources, no. Sometimes you need to test it without space. Okay, Miss Tall, classroom ideas. No. School, house, chalk. No. It's elementary. It's elementary. No. Sometimes the pages here you cannot target as interest, so you have to go through all these here. See, there are a lot of interest for you to go through. That's why I said that It will take like 1 to 2 hours to do this, but it's only done once. Delta Education. Classroom Direct, we are Teacher Deals, Teacher Next Door. Classroom Direct. No, we are Teacher Deal. No, we are Teachers actually is targetable. But let's just go through step by step. We want to systemize it here, right? The Teacher Next Door. No. School Outfitters. Yes. Let's check what this page is about. It is a website for teachers. It's quite active too. So I'm going to put it here. School Outfitters. Teacher list. Okay, so you get the idea, right? You just go through all this and check the affinity, and then check their page, look at their activity by their posts, comments, and shares. And then you put them in this category here. And then you do the same thing with the top categories. Alright, test this one by one, and then put into the categories in the form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video and I will try to find some interest for us to show as example here. So these are some list of interests that I found. If you see, there are some with red text. It means that these are super precise interests. The way to check it is using this rule. The interests show up as a page in the first place, as in the page like, and audience divided by active monthly people must be greater than 80%. Let's say, for example, Teach Starter. Right, it show up as the first one in the page likes, and the audience 51.5 divided by 60 is 85%. So this is super precise interest. Let's try with the mailbox, for example. The mailbox, it shows up in the first place on page likes, but when I calculate the audience divided by the monthly active people, 198.9 divided by 350, it is only 56.8%. So it's associated interest. Okay, the reason I mark them here, there's a purpose for the testing, which I will explain in split testing video. Step 4 is that you input the interest and then you check the demographics. You tune in the demographics if necessary, and then the pages showing up will be more relevant. What I mean by this is, you put all these interests that you have found. You don't have to wait until you finish to do this. Sometimes after you have found like 10 interests, you can start putting in. Because what I want to see is that okay, just type in all this. So what I want to see is the demographics here. I want to check whether there are certain demographics that I want to focus on. For example, here 25 to 44 is what the most percentage of my audience is. Of course, it depends on your niche and your decision whether you want to laser focus on a certain ages or you want to keep it wide open in the beginning. In my case here, for example, the teacher, I want to keep it wide open because I believe that there are buyers in this niche as well, right? But what I mean in this step is that if you hold down the ages like 25 to 44, there are some new interests that did not show up before will show up now after you change the ages, after you hone in demographics. That's what I mean. For example, this educational insights, I don't think it showed up before. I just want to check whether it is targetable. Educational insights. Yes, right? You see? You easily find, you can find a new interest after you hone it down. So this is the step number 4. So after you have done all this, step 1 to step 4, you have a lot of interest here now, right? Then what I want to do is, I know it takes a lot of time, but it's up to you. How many leads you want to gather is depends on how many you want to collect it in the beginning. Because as I said, this is just one-time job. Okay, what I mean by step 5 is you input a new interest that you have found one by one. So if you remember when we started doing research, we start with abctips.com, right? And then we go all along the page likes and all along the top categories here. Now, I want to start with the Teach Starter. Okay, this is what I mean. Teach Starter. And you do the same process. And then note down the related pages that did not show up before. Because by doing this, sometimes, as I said, some pages that did not show up before will show up now. Okay, you can use Ctrl F or Command F to help you. Because once you have a lot of lists here, you can use like Ctrl F, whether I want to see whether I have put in teaching ideas, for example. Yes, you have put in before, so this would be very helpful, the search here. And then number 7, you just repeat step 5 and step 6 until all this keyword here is done. Alright, this kind of job I don't think I will outsource because I want to make sure that my list here is very targeted, and it will help me a lot in long run, because I always suggest that you focus in one niche, right? Because if you spread yourself too thin across too many niches, then you have no competitive advantage over other competitors. So this is basically how we can use the audience insight to help you find an interest for you to target later. I hope it helps. So see you in the next video.